The DPP is currently considering whether to bring perjury charges arising from the Conor McGregor Nikita Hand case. The decision is expected later this year, and if perjury proceedings are brought, then it will be only the second prosecution under a 2021 Perjury Act that was introduced to Ireland and enacted and put on the statute books. Up to that point, all perjury situations, all perjury allegations were dealt with by way of a common law prosecution. So we have a Perjury Act put on the statute books in 2021, and since then there's only been one prosecution. That's since 2021. It will be the sixth prosecution, if there is one, in the past decade. That's obviously 10 years. A decision is expected later this year whether this perjury action will be brought arising from the dramatic withdrawal of evidence or purported evidence on behalf of Conor McGregor in relation to his failed appeal against a civil jury finding that he raped Nikita Hand. If the DPP decides to prosecute, it will be only the second prosecution under this 2021 perjury law, and as I say, the sixth prosecution for perjury in the past decade. The new evidence is being investigated by Gardaí for possible perjury. On foot of the investigation report, the DPP will then decide if there's any basis to bring a prosecution. Nikita Hand, you may recall, was awarded €250,000 in damages by a High Court jury last November when it found that Conor McGregor assaulted her in Dublin's Beacon Hotel in December 2018. Last month he was ordered to pay her legal costs, estimated at more than €1.5 million, after his appeal against the jury finding was dismissed. But it was that appeal that gives rise to this possible prosecution for perjury. The Court of Appeal agreed to refer the withdrawn evidence and related material for consideration of possible perjury. This arises from sworn statements by former neighbours of Nikita Hand, Samantha O'Reilly and her partner Stephen Cummins. They lived across the road from Miss Hand in Drimna, Dublin for a time, and Miss O'Reilly claimed that from a room in her house, she heard and saw what appeared to be a physical altercation between Miss Hand and her then partner Stephen Redmond on the night of December 9th, 10th in 2018. That evidence, Mr McGregor claimed, bolstered his insistence that he was not responsible for extensive bruising to her body, noted by a doctor on December the 10th, 2018. In a replying affidavit, Miss Hand basically said that the neighbours' claims were lies and said that Mr Redmond never assaulted her during their relationship or on that occasion. Just one prosecution has been taken to date under the Criminal Justice Perjury and Related Offences Act 2021, which made perjury a criminal offence. The office of the DPP has confirmed that it resulted in a conviction, but it would not disclose details of the case. The DPP has brought 5 prosecutions for perjury, including under that 2021 Act, over the past 10 years. Before the 2021 Act, perjury offences were prosecuted under common law. Of the 5 prosecutions since 2015, 3 resulted in a conviction, 1 in a decision not to prosecute further because the suspect had died, and 1 remains outstanding. Much of the motivation for this 2021 Act, a new piece of legislation dealing with perjury, aimed at making it easier to prosecute for perjury, was to help in bringing down insurance costs by deterring false or fraudulent claims. Senior Counsel Ronan Lupton said that the Act sets out in clear terms what perjury is. So it defines what perjury is. It's the giving by a person of a material statement in evidence or on affidavit that they know to be false. And the fact of them knowing this to be false gives the problem here to the DPP in relation to prosecutions, because proving that somebody knew something to be false can be difficult. The Act introduces for the first time an offence of suborning, that is, inducing perjury. That involves procuring, persuading, inducing or otherwise causing another person to commit perjury, knowing or being reckless whether the other person is committing that offence. And the Act provides for penalties of up to 12 months for conviction on a summary offence and up to 10 years for conviction on indictment. A legal source, according to the Irish Times, and I'm taking this report from Mary Carolan in the Irish Times, a legal source with experience in prosecutions over alleged false evidence, believes the difficulty of bringing home successful prosecutions in these cases has contributed to a reluctance within the DPP's office to prosecute them. Whether that will change under the new Act remains to be seen, he said. The risk of failure and the potential costs involved in some cases are important factors to weigh up. In some cases, every fact could be put at issue. Proving a deliberate lie is a difficult hurdle for any prosecutor. Proving the offence of suborning perjury presents even more difficulty, he added. So that's the offence of inducing somebody to engage in some sort of perjury. In its 2022 post-enactment report on the 2021 Act, the Department of Justice said some people have all too frequently deliberately lied in court or misrepresented the truth in affidavits, and the Act was developed to create significant deterrence against that. So that was the purpose of the Act. The Act was envisaged as a part of a package of government measures dealing with insurance issues, insurance fraud and exaggerated claims, it said. The report noted that while the offence of perjury was already provided for in common law, the historic levels of investigations and prosecutions for perjury were low. It was satisfied that the Act would play an important role in providing a clearer legal framework through which our law enforcement authorities may be guided in decisively taking action in the area of perjury, and expected it will over time have an impact on the numbers of complaints, investigations and prosecutions, but that does not appear to be borne out in practice, because if this McGregor perjury prosecution, if one arises, it will only be the second prosecution since the enactment of that 2021 Act in 4 years ago. So 2 prosecutions, if there is a second prosecution, there mightn't be one, I'm not saying there will be, but only 1 prosecution to date. That's a pretty low level of prosecution. It touches upon the point as well, and the senior counsel there who was quoted in this article by Mary Carolan in the Irish Times gives some pointers to what the DPP will be considering, the DPP's office will be considering when bringing prosecution. And the DPP has limited resources and must weigh up very, very carefully the prospects of success in any given case. So in this particular case, Nikita Hand and Conor McGregor, the DPP's office decided not to prosecute Conor McGregor with a criminal act, a criminal sexual assault or criminal rape or anything else. The DPP did not bring a prosecution. And so many people say, oh, the DPP didn't have enough evidence, etc., etc. The DPP may have weighed up based on the standard of proof required for a criminal prosecution, that is beyond the bounds or beyond a reasonable doubt. The DPP may have weighed up the costs of the case, the cost of the prosecution, the chances of success, etc., and declined to go ahead. That doesn't mean that Nikita Hand's case, the civil case, is somehow diminished or whatever. It does mean that the DPP, though, weighed up the resources available and whether his or her resources will be better spent in other prosecutions, etc. And that's a decision that they always have to make, because they don't have unlimited resources. The DPP's office has limited resources and must make a decision, must make a qualitative decision in each and every case. And obviously they are concerned with getting a successful prosecution, not just bringing a prosecution for the sake of it, but they are weighing up the chances of succeeding and so on. And as I say, the chances of succeeding when a criminal offence, criminal prosecution requires a higher standard of proof, that is beyond a reasonable doubt, as opposed to on the balance of probability, which is the civil course of action and the civil standard of proof. So that is the story. So the DPP has already been criticised fairly harshly by certain quarters, certainly for not prosecuting Conor McGregor in this Nikita Hand situation. Whether the DPP avails of the opportunity now to bring a claim for prosecution or an offence, prosecute a perjury offence under the Perjury Act from 2021 remains to be seen. As I say, if they do, then it'll be the second time since the Act was enacted and put in the statute books. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up button down below. Thanks a lot.